Welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers from Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, Part 13. Sin. Number 66 of Sri Aurobindo's Thoughts and Aphorisms. Sin is that which was once in its place. Persisting now, it is out of place. There is no other sinfulness. Question to the Mother. Has cruelty, for example, ever been in its place? Mother answered this orally. This very question of yours came to my vision, since I receive in my consciousness all the questions people ask. To kill out of cruelty? To make others suffer out of cruelty? And yet it is an expression of the divine. We always come back to the same thing, but an expression which is distorted in its appearance. Can you tell me what lies behind it? Cruelty was one of the things that was most repugnant to Sri Aurobindo. But he always said that it was the distortion of an intensity. One could almost say the distortion of an intensity of love, something which is not satisfied with a middle course, which wants extremes, and that is justifiable. I had always known that cruelty, like sadism, is a need for violent, extremely strong sensation, to penetrate a thick layer of tamas that feels nothing. Tamas needs something extreme in order to be able to feel. The explanation may lie in this direction. But at the origin, there is still the problem that has never been solved. Why has it become like this? Why this distortion? Why has it all been perverted? Behind, there are beautiful things, very intense, infinitely more powerful than what we can even bear. Wonderful things. But why has all that become so frightful here? This is what came to me immediately when I read this aphorism. The concept of sin is something that I do not understand and have never understood. Original sin seems to me one of the most monstrous ideas that man could ever have. Sin and I don't go together. So naturally I fully agree with Sri Aurobindo that there is no sin. This is understood, but certain things, like cruelty, could be called sin. But I can only see this explanation, that it is a distortion of the taste or need for an extremely strong sensation. I have observed in cruel people that they feel ananda at that moment. They find an intense joy in it. So that is its justification. Only it is in such a state of distortion that it is repugnant. As for the idea that things are not in their place, I understood it even when I was a child. It was only later that I was given the explanation by the person who taught me occultism. For in his cosmogonic system, he explained the successive pralayas of the various universes by saying that with each universe an aspect of the Supreme would manifest itself. that each universe was built on one aspect of the Supreme, and that one after another they had all returned into the Supreme. He enumerated all the aspects that were manifested successfully, and with what logic! It was extraordinary. I have kept it somewhere. I forget where. And he said that this time it was, I do not remember exactly what number in the series, but it would be the universe which would not be withdrawn again, which would follow a progressive course of becoming that would be, so to say, indefinite. And this universe represented equilibrium, not static, but progressive equilibrium. That is to say, each thing in its place, exactly, each vibration, each movement in its place. The further down one goes, the more each form, each activity, each thing is exactly in its place in relation to the whole. I was extremely interested because later Sri Aurobindo said the same thing, that nothing is bad. It is just that things are not in their place. Their place not only in space but also in time. Their place in the universe, beginning with the worlds, the stars, etc. Each thing exactly in its place. And so, when each thing is exactly in its place, from the most stupendous to the most microscopic, the whole will express the Supreme progressively, without any need of being withdrawn to be emanated again. On this, Sri Aurobindo based the fact that in this creation, in this universe, the perfection of a divine world, what Sri Aurobindo calls the supermind, will be able to manifest. Equilibrium is the essential law of this creation, and this is why perfection can be realized in the manifestation. Footnote: Pralaya is the end or destruction of a universe. And number 67 from Sri Aurobindo: there is no sin in man, but a great deal of disease, ignorance, and misapplication. Number 68. The sense of sin was necessary in order that man might become disgusted with his own imperfections. It was God's corrective for egoism. But man's egoism meets God's device by being very dully alive to its own sins, and very keenly alive to the sins of others. Question to the Mother: at what phase of his development will man be able to rid himself of egoism? Mother: when egoism will no longer be necessary to make man a conscious individuality. 27 July 1961.